Happy spring and welcome to season 3 of my native plant garden tours. My native plant collection just keeps on getting bigger and bigger every year, and I want to share it with everyone just to show you how these native plants grow in suburbia over the whole growing season so that you can help plan your garden design as well. So today we're doing our April native plant garden tour, so let's get right to the videos now. Thanks so much for watching. So this mess of sticks is our obedient plant, and it's okay, it's messy right now, but in a couple weeks, once it gets a little warmer, I'm going to remove all of these and kind of set them aside in what I call the pollinator pile area in my yard, where they can just rest and decompose naturally. And if there are any baby bees in these stems, then they will just come out when they're ready. So down here you can see there's lots of green, lots of obedient plant coming. So this plant is looking real good already. Over here beside my obedient plant, we've got lots of little Scarlet Beebalm coming. So tiny little guys, and they're looking really, really happy. They're spreading. There was only a little patch a year or two ago, and now we've got probably about a patch of about 2 feet by 2 feet, and it will just keep on growing over time, and if it gets too big, I'll just share with others. So over here back by the fence, we've got in this tomato cage, which is, I'm not sure what it's doing, but it is pretty much marking the spot where we have this baby paper birch. So this is the leaves starting to form. It's probably about 2 years old, maybe 3. My friend grew this from seed for me, and now it's doing really well after planting it last fall. So I know it's going to get very big, and I know it's a little close to the fence, but I'm hoping that it'll kind of come towards the yard just because the sun kind of comes this way. So fingers crossed future me is not angry with this decision and that it doesn't cause any problems with the fence over time. Over here we have our wild Columbine. This is the plant that I planted not last fall, but the fall before. Last season, it pretty much just stayed this size the whole season. So this season, I'm really hoping that it'll get nice and big and maybe even give me some blooms this year. So fingers crossed, it's looking good already. So hopefully we'll get some of those really unique blooms in a couple of weeks. This is going to be hard to see with all the twigs around, but right here, these branches here are my serviceberry. And last year was so dry, and I'm really quite nervous. I might see buds. I don't know. You tell me. Am I seeing buds? Here, let's focus in. So this is what we have. When I see all the other serviceberries in the neighborhood, they have like beautiful buds forming, leaf buds, and it's quite pretty already. So I don't know. I'm really sad because I don't think that this guy is doing too well, but maybe he'll come back. We'll see. Everybody wish me luck. Or if you have any tips on what I can do to help this guy survive, please let me know. So these 3 little patches back here are the Rudbeckia Herrerta, or the native black-eyed Susans. And one of the distinguishing features is that they have more fuzzy leaves than some of the cultivars, like my Rudbeckia fulgita goldstrum, which is also a nice pretty plant, but this one is native, and that's what I'm looking for. So these fuzzy leaves are hopefully going to have lots of pretty golden blooms later in the year. We've got lots of lovely little patches of violets growing. I'm fairly sure that these are the native variety. If you know and you can confirm, then I would love to hear from you. But these are what's growing all over my yard, in my grass, and little spots in my garden, and I'm just welcoming them, especially to fill in spaces. They're lovely, and they're great for pollinators early in the year. And they stay green all the way through the season. So over here in a very sunny spot in my yard, I've got New England Aster coming up. These are the stalks that I had left on over the winter. It grows quite large, but about 4 to 5 feet tall. And in a couple weeks, I'll be snipping those off and adding them to my pollinator pile just to clean up the garden. And then if there are any bees that have nested inside these stalks, then they can come out when they're ready. Over here in a very sunny corner on my yard, I've got Butterflyweed, and really, I'm not going to be able to find anything. This plant comes quite later in the spring. So if you see nothing where your butterflyweed was, don't be worried. It's probably just ready to come out in a couple weeks. So no fret. I do have all the stalks that are left here from the fall. And again, going to put these into the pollinator pile when I'm ready to clean up the garden when it warms up a bit. So I think it's starting to hail, but I'm going to keep going. This is our Canada anemone. I moved this plant. It was near the front of my garden, but it grew to about 2 feet tall, which was a little too high for the front. So I moved it back here by my porch, and over beside it you can see that we've got our Solomon steel starting. So it kind of looks a little bit like asparagus or something, but these can come up real quick. So I wanted to get them before they popped up in a nice hot summer day. So these lovely little stalks are going to grow to about maybe 4 feet tall in the shady garden. They're quite lovely and surprisingly very drought resistant. So great plant for the shade garden. Over here, this little sad patch of burgundy twigs and leaves is what is left of our Foamflower plant. This plant struggled so hard last year. It was so dry, but look, we've still got some life coming. So this plant's going to do okay, I feel. We've got some leaves, and then over here, there's even some little flowers starting. So it's going to do okay. Fingers crossed we don't have quite as bad of a drought this year, because that was pretty tough. Over here, these teeny weeny little plants, I think, are my spotted bee balm coming up. That's what this spoon says. Clearly not an awesome labeling device in the garden, but it's doing its job so far because I think this is what we have here. I grew these from seed. Last year, they only grew about this high. So fingers crossed this year, they can do really well and maybe even bloom for me too. So over here in our boulevard garden, we have our Prairie Smoke. And last year, it did not bloom. It was just getting established, but check it out. Look at, I think we have some blooms coming. So very, very excited. This has not bloomed for me yet. I'm very happy to have those pretty pink flowers that turn into those kind of wispy seed heads. So hopefully I'll get to share those with you soon. Over here in our boulevard garden, we have got our wild blue lupine, and this is my prized possession. I love this plant so much. It's got the most beautiful, stunning flowers. I'm so happy to welcome it back. This is my second year with this plant, and last year it dropped a ton of seeds. So fingers crossed we even get some baby lupines growing this year, and I would just be so happy to even have this whole boulevard in this. But we will see how it does and welcome whatever happens. Also in our boulevard garden, we have our prickly pear cactus, and as you can see, it's just waking up. It's looking pretty wrinkly. It's not too happy, but it'll plump up. It'll look all right. We just got to give it a bit of time. Here's our golden Alexander plant. This was transplanted a year and a bit ago, and last year we did not have any flowers, but you know what? I think that looks like that could be the development of some flowers because we've got leaves here. So we will see. I have 2 of these plants, one here and one just over here. This one might need a little bit more time to wake up. And last but not least, here are all my wee babies that I grew last fall. I planted these in the fall and they're all popping up, and we had snow just a couple days ago. So as a very protective plant mama, I brought them all inside. But funny enough, I labeled them and they have all washed away. So you can say these are just white sticks, just for fun. No idea what these things are. We will have to look back at some pictures that I had in the fall to figure out what these little guys are, but lots is growing, so that's a good sign. In this little box, I've got my new plants from Ontario Native Plants that just arrived a day or 2 ago. We've got some black raspberry, some wild blueberry, a red bud, some serviceberry, some wee little serviceberry bushes, and then this tall guy over here is a bush honeysuckle. So very excited to start planting these guys very soon in the garden. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found the video interesting and helpful. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. We're going to have videos just like this through the whole growing season and hopefully some other little tips and tricks along the way as well. Thanks again for watching and happy gardening.